Hi everybody, I'm David and this is All Things Sacred. So last three videos, we talked about the sword suit and now I'm going to move on to the cup suit. We went from the suit of air to the suit of water. What I want to point out before I start talking about the cards themselves is that when we talked about the Ace of Swords, we were talking about an aspect of divinity, of God, of goddess, or the divine universe, whatever form anyone wants to see their higher power. We're talking about a quality of that thing, that essence, in the Ace of Swords. And that essence that we were talking about, that quality specifically, is the quality of omniscience, all-knowingness. And I said at the beginning of this that the card should be experienced. And this includes the experience of omniscience. That this is something we can tap into as human beings. It is our divine birthright to know this. And the same can be said about the Ace of Cups and the Ace of Discs and the Ace of Wands. And I just wanted to point out that when I'm talking about these grand, eternal, infinite things, I'm not just talking about lofty ideas that we can take our imagination to, but an actual experience of that divine reality. Okay. And so talking about that divine reality, we had omniscience for the Ace of Swords, and now we have the Ace of Cups, which is the feeling, the essence, the quality of omnipresence, to be everywhere throughout the universe. When one develops one quality of any of the aces, when one finds themselves to be omnipotent, say through the power of the Ace of Wands, all the other qualities will spring up simultaneously. When one has the experience of the divine, all of these things will come together. And the aces, for that reason, exist in potential, because the potential is just, it stems from the seed of experience. And the seed of the experience of omnipresence can be summed up in the ideas that have been talked about by many people throughout the ages concerning being a drop in a vast ocean of water or a wave upon the ocean, and how when we are identified with that drop or caught up in a wave, when that drop is caught up in a wave, we believe that our whole reality is to be found in that wave of experiences, that wave of changes that is occurring, and we forget that we are just a piece of this vast ocean. And so we have to learn to dive deep. We have to learn to take our mind and our senses, our exterior material world, and turn it inward to go deep into the absorption of the divine, found best in meditation. And a feeling of deep love arises for all things, because when you can become absorbed in the ocean of being, of God, of this existence and beyond, the illusions and delusions of this existence, then you see everything as the divine and as yourself and as the closest and most beloved of all. You see that in all. You become unattached from the feelings of needing this or that separate individual. You still love those individuals, but you love them with a true love that never turns to any sort of spite or hate, because you see them as divine. And so that's the description of the Ace of Cups. You could say that the amount of water that's in this card, the amount of feeling, the depth of feeling, is eternal. That if you were to pour out the Ace of Cups, then the water would be more than all that on the earth. One thing I did want to touch on, actually, we're going to talk about the fire suit next after this, and the fire suit really can be said to be The experience of something, because the Ace of Wands is omnipotence and it's all powerful. And the experience is of being the divine yourself. And this would be the path of Advaitism that the Vedas preach, of non-duality, of recognizing the divine you, the divine self, and working with the laws of your divine self. This is a greater ego than the one that we are used to experiencing. One doesn't have need, though, when following that path normally, for the most part. I mean, there is a reason why we have these different paths. They kind of, in many ways, they complement each other. But the one doesn't normally need various forms, they feel like. One doesn't need various images to express their love for the divine, because they have it within as a formless, impersonal being. The cups, on the other hand, represent a different path, a different way of individual. That's called the bhakti path, the devotional path. And although one finds that they feel a sense of absorption and oneness in the Ace of Cups, because they come back into that sense of being a drop within the ocean, they still feel, because of this love, it feels more like a sharing of this experience rather than just alone, I am the complete ocean. Rather, I am an ocean that is made up of many drops, and my love for all these drops is equivalent to my love for God and myself and my most beloved, anyone, any relationship. And for that reason, the path of the cups is really the bhakti path, the devotional path, one who finds love for their divine source. We talked about that in the sword suit too, because the mind, the discriminating power, is really the path of Jnana. We'll talk about that whenever I talk about the Vedas. This is the path of philosophy. But one learns early on, through the soul's experience with the mind, that the divine is the source of all joy and happiness and peace and bliss and love. And this is, now we're talking about the cup suit, this is the love that the sword suit discriminates and refines on its path back to its source. And this love is expressed most fully in the Two of Cups. This is like the living experience of what I talked about in the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups is that source of love that the divine feels for all of creation, recognizing itself being disguised, and when it calls itself to awakening, really experiencing this new arising of a pure and real love. But this pure and real love is expressed in the Two of Cups as the action, the experience, the actual relationship that one begins to have with the divine, first found within another person, and that person most especially being themselves. They can find within the temple of their heart this overflowing abundance of water that keeps things moving. The water is moving, and it's held, and well, I guess I should show the card. It's held and contained. It's bringing life and vibrancy. There's, when one worships God in the temple of their heart, that's the experience of the Two of Cups. There, within meditation, when one is with themselves at peace, they really can find this flower that's represented on this card, the lotus flower, blossoming within their own hearts as a part of their own being. It's a really wonderful experience, and this experience spreads. The beauty of the cup suit is that it's all about sharing. And when one turns inward and finds the divine sitting there within themselves, the kingdom of heaven inside of them, as Christ says, and they find God sitting there, they realize they're never apart from their most beloved. This experience is it automatically shares itself. It expands, or even it's more so. It's magnetic. This one having this experience within, going inward and really nurturing that flame within, with the life water of the cup suit of the true astral waters. It draws in magnetically all around so that they too can experience this beauty that is so unlike what they're used to from the day-to-day experience of what we normally consider love. This magnetism is represented in the Three of Cups. It kind of balances itself out, whereas the two is really drawing people to it, where it's drawing other aspects of the divine toward it. Then the three is saying that these actions, so the first actions one take is to look inward, and the second action is to go out and share this, to feel the abundance of it, so that fruit can be found, and that it will spread in the same exact way. When one person comes close to another who really has found their divine beloved, they also too begin to get a glimpse of the divine beloved within them, and this will cause them to want to share this just like it was shared with them, and on, so that the fruit becomes bountiful. And the divine love experienced by just seemingly one can be shared with all very quickly. This is the way to true abundance. This is the way to true peace. This is the way to true love. This is the way to find real harmony in our society and in our world, in our government structures, is to find this inner peace within, to learn to love truly, where there's no discrimination, where you see others in their pain and suffering and causing you or trying to cause you pain and suffering. All you want to do then, when you find this love, is to share this love with them, because you know that it will cure their ailments, and they will no longer try to bring you into their sickness. These are the healing waters found in the Three of Cups that spread from the divine triangle atop the Tree of Life downward, where they become muddled. But this triad is so beautiful that it's apparent throughout all the rest of the cards, even though some of the cards are ugly comparatively. It's because one forgets this idea of sharing. Instead of sharing, one becomes selfish, and they try to hold this love as their own thing. As well, they try to begin to love other things that aren't as lasting. That's the major issue that we find with the Four of Cups. And the Four of Cups is called luxury. Where before we had taken our love that was given to us, shared it with the divine who gave it to us, who instructed us to share it with all, and we began to share it with all, and in the abundance found the fructification in the berries on the card that rose from us sharing it with other people. In the Four of Cups, we find that we begin to share this love with God's creation as well, with the world, astrally and physically. You know, this still sits in the 4, so it's above the physical world of Malkuth in the 10, but it's reflected down in it. Everything is reflected within the 10, within our universe. And really something that we could begin to make tangible, unlike the first 3, which are more so just fully experiential, something that we could begin to really grab hold of, is the Four of Cups, the idea that we begin to love the things of this world. And this is okay. There's nothing wrong, and it's even good to love and appreciate the beauty of this creation and the variety of joys and pleasures and happinesses that can be found within it. The luxury card itself isn't difficult or even really negative in many ways. It's just the seed for the negative things to come. One has taken their eye, their inner eye, and turned it outward instead of keeping it looking within. And this causes the waters to begin to become stagnant. It begins it's the initial damming of some of the waters because people want to hold certain things. They want their life to be peaceful, not chaotic, and so they dam up the waters a little so that they can keep them safe. This is understandable and it's natural and it's part of the plan, because otherwise we wouldn't have these beautiful stories that are our lives. We have to turn our eye outward. That's the whole understanding of the sword suit, at least too, about really bringing it down instead of, and in here we're using the metaphor instead of up and down, up, in and out. And so, you have to turn it outward toward the senses. And we're really getting to that. There's 5 senses and we're coming to the world. But we find that when we give the love to the senses, things aren't as easy as they are right now in the 4, even though the 4 spells the coming of the 5. Okay, I think I'm going to stop there. Around 16 minutes or so is what my computer seems to be able to take for before it starts skipping a little bit, and that's about where we're at. So I'll go ahead and make up another video here soon for the next 4 or so cards. Alright, talk to you all soon. Thank you so much.